A San Antonio police officer runs into trouble trying to arrest a suspect, but not for too long after a mixed martial arts professional fighter jumped in to help. Now, this video has gone viral with more than 42 million views on Facebook. Eyewitness News reporter Jordan Foster sat down with the Good Samaritan and has his story.
Mark Anthony Gonzalez admits he's an unlikely hero, and he's not the kind of guy most people would pick to step up and help a San Antonio, Texas police officer in trouble. Gonzalez does admit that he has a criminal history and is in fact currently out on bond for a May 2021 arrest. Gonzalez was quoted as saying, "I had no relationship with law enforcement or the system. In fact, I despised it because of what I'm going through." But Gonzalez said when an officer was on the ground last month struggling to gain control of a wanted man during an intense fight, he chose the high road. He says, "I still went out of my way because I knew it was the right thing to do."
Help! It took only a split second for Mark Anthony Gonzalez to realize this officer needed his help.
I put it in park and I was like, you know what? I told my wife, start recording. And as you see on the video, the officer started getting rocked.
In the video that now has millions of views, you see the moment this Good Samaritan ran to help. The officer was trying to arrest a suspect who was trying to get away. Fortunately for this San Antonio police officer, Gonzalez is a trained mixed martial arts professional fighter.
Let me get off and help this individual because, he needs it. I'm not going to let it happen. It was one of those life and death situations.
Gonzalez said he was on the way to the gym where he trains as a Brazilian jiu-jitsu fighter when he saw the officer chasing a man. He says when the man tripped and fell to the ground, the officer fell on top of him and the fight for control was on. Gonzalez says he thought, hey, that's the cue I need because this officer is in need of desperate help. While Gonzalez approached and offered his assistance, his wife started recording the incident on her cell phone. Yes, always record interactions with the police. Gonzalez said he wanted the video evidence because of his criminal history. He didn't want his actions to be misunderstood. Gonzalez was quoted as saying it was one of those life and death situations where the suspect decided to reach for the officer's firearm and I was able to pry his fingers away from the weapon. The video backs up his claim, and it has been a viral sensation on Facebook, amassing more than 40 million views. The blue belt fighter is a blue belt, credits his instructors in training for being able to make a positive difference. And it goes on, it's down. This is a very, very lengthy one, actually. If you want to go read it. But there's just certain things in there that he says that I wanted to bring it to you. First of all, he says it was the right thing to do. Yeah. It doesn't matter how much we don't trust law enforcement. We think they're corrupt. We think it's the Blue Line gang. Whatever. When you see somebody on top of a police officer and he starts trying to pull his gun out, it's the right thing to do. Because there's a human being in need.
Neighbors in this community near the intersections of Cypress near Pleasanton Road on the south side say if Gonzalez didn't step in, there would have been a life lost.
He was getting the guy's hands away from the gun and then trying to help the policeman. Then I saw everything's okay,
I was able to calmly pry his fingers away from the weapon. So on the video, you hear me telling the officer, there you go, I got it, go ahead.
I'm grateful that he was there to help the policeman.
SAPD tell us the man being arrested is 44-year-old Jack Albert Evans. He's since been charged with attempting to take a weapon from an officer, evading arrest, and felon in possession of a firearm. Evans is in jail with bonds totaling $101,000.
These guys helped me. My professor and everybody here helped me get to this point where I was able to calmly, assess the situation and lend a helping hand.
Gonzalez says he hasn't always had a good history with police officers, but regardless of what's happened in his past, he says he'll always choose to help if he's ever needed.
I had no relationship with law enforcement, with the system. I despised it because of what I was going through. But that's not me as a person. I still went out my way because I know that was the right thing to do.
Jordan Foster, KENS 5, Eyewitness News.
I mean, that guy wasn't going to pull his gun out and go, "Okay, officer, step back, I'm leaving now." He's going to shoot him, most likely. And we don't, I'm not psychic and I don't know for a fact, but in most cases, that's what happens. They don't get a police officer's firearm and then run off. They get a police officer's firearm and then they start shooting. But Gonzalez said in the article he has children and he doesn't want them to go through the same system he's had to go through. He says that in this article that if you want to read it, it's in the description box below. He says, unaccustomed to being in the spotlight for good, Gonzalez says you're used to seeing the news, reading the news, so I'm not used to being in the news, but it's a good thing to send this message out. It's the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. He said, I'm not going to let the system break me because I have 4 beautiful kids. And I promised myself they won't go through the system like I did. He wants people to understand there are still good people in the world, even among those who have trouble in their past. He's still a good guy. You know, he has maybe he has a criminal record, but he's still a good guy. He saw a human being in need, and he acted on his training and his experience as a blue belt jiu-jitsu fighter. He says, I'm doing a lot more good than what you have on record. Of course, he may have a criminal record, and you have no record of what I'm doing. That's positive. We do now. We do now have a record of something positive you did and probably saved a police officer's life. Hopefully, Chief McManus will just cooperate and give this guy a key to the city. What do you all think? You let me know in the comment section below.